the Chapel Hill community and the University of North Carolina community on the tragedy up there yesterday. What a terrible situation. And thinking of those guys and sending prayers without a doubt. Excited that game week is finally here, and we're in here on a Tuesday game week press conference, so couldn't be more excited about getting going. Been a lot of work that's gone into this week, long preseason camp, and excited to finally get to play this Saturday. We had a full mock week last week like we talked about, did a lot of work on Friday, and then gave everyone off Saturday, players, coaches, staff, made them get out of the building. Didn't want anybody in here just to kind of get away from things physically, mentally, and then come back in here on Sunday, which is what we did, and then got to work. So it was fun sitting around watching some college football on Saturday, and envious that teams got to play last weekend, but excited that we get to play this week as well. I'll always shoot you guys straight. Disappointed with the way we practiced today. We did not practice today like it was game week, which was disappointing. Thought there'd be a lot more urgency out there today, and it wasn't terrible, and it wasn't everyone, but we had too many groups, too many individuals that practiced today like everything was just going to be okay on Saturday night. Practice today like we just assumed that things are going to happen a certain way on Saturday night. And frankly, the way we practiced at a lot of positions today, we'll get our absolute butts kicked on Saturday night if we practice like we did today at some certain spots. So that's players and coaches. So we've got a lot of work to do between now and Saturday, and eager that the leadership on this team will step up between now and tomorrow morning when we hit the field again and have a much better day than what it was today. Just too sloppy and not enough urgency out there today for a Tuesday practice. Tuesday practices are really, 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 really hard around here because game days and games are really, really hard. And got some guys I think just kind of tried to get through today and didn't try and get better today necessarily as well. And again, not everybody. There were some good things. I was just watching some of the practice tape before we came in here, but overall as a whole, nowhere good enough to beat a really good team on Saturday night. Health of the team is good. I would say that JT Gear and Bam Scott and Connor Cox are questionable. Everybody else is good to go. Nick Harbor practiced today. Juice Wells practiced today. Have no issues with those guys. Fully expect them to see them on Saturday night. Told Juice he got out there and did a little bit of work with the training room yesterday. He was out there with a couple of our strength coaches and one of our trainers and myself, just kind of watching him do some things yesterday, and told him it was like the movie The Natural. Most of y'all are too young in here to have even seen The Natural probably, but there's the scene where Roy Hobbs gets out of the hospital and goes and takes batting practice in the stadium at night where nobody can really see him just to see if he's healthy, and that's what it seemed like with Juice yesterday. I know you guys are going to be shocked. Juice hasn't seen The Natural, had no idea who Roy Hobbs was, but Will and Nate and Josh got a big kick out of that, our staff members out there as well. But proud of him and the way that he's fought to come back from that injury, as well as Nick Harbor, and it was great seeing all those guys out there running around today. Got a big challenge Saturday night. North Carolina's got a great team, obviously a team last season that was 9-1 at one point with their only loss to Notre Dame. Didn't finish the season the way they wanted, but wasn't like they were getting blown out in games. They had a tough loss to Georgia Tech. They had a tough loss, close loss to NC State at the end of the game. Played in the ACC championship game against a really good Clemson team, and then lost their bowl game by less than one score as well. So really talented team. I've got so much respect for Mac Brown. Talked about it 2 years ago when we played in the Mayo Bowl, someone who, I've admired his career for a long, long time, going back to when he was at Texas and really going back my dad's first year at Virginia Tech. He was the head coach at Tech, and Mac Brown was the head coach at Tulane. And Virginia Tech played Tulane that year. So someone that my family, my parents think a lot of, and someone in Mac Brown that is a Hall of Famer, went in the College Football Hall of Fame literally the same night as my dad a few years ago up in New York City. So it was really cool being able to see my dad and Mac Brown go in the Hall of Fame the same night. and so much respect, like I said, for his career and the fact that he's won at multiple places and different decades and all that as well. And then also someone that's been very good to me, someone that I've picked up the phone multiple times and called and gotten advice on things and stuff like that as well. He's got a great team, like I said, fantastic offense led by Drake May. Will be a high draft pick in the NFL draft when he decides to go to the NFL. Talented thrower, unbelievable runner. He's a great athlete with great size, and it'll be a big challenge for our defense. People talk about Drake May, and rightfully so, but he's got weapons on the outside. He's got a veteran offensive line with returning starters, and then a running back group that nobody really talks about, but some really, really talented running backs that go basically 4 deep. And they're all talented guys. Defensively, 2 fantastic linebackers that, seems like they've been there forever, and Gray and Eccles, and a front 4 that is really disruptive. They have size, they have athleticism, a lot of new faces in the secondary, but we know from listening to a lot of their press conferences and hearing them talk, they're excited about their secondary as well. And then special teams, it's clear they work at it. It's clear they know what they're doing, and they got good players out there as well. So will be a big challenge for us. Game ones, as you've heard me say before, is always just really, really tough because there's so many unknowns. They've got, I know they'll be the first to tell you they didn't play defense as well as they wanted to throughout the season last year, and there's been talk about them doing some different things defensively in order to be better. And so we've got to do a great job from an offensive standpoint of adjusting to whatever we see from them. We can't prepare for everything as much as we try to. Offensively, they have a new offensive coordinator. They have a new offensive line coach. They have a new tight ends coach. They've all been different places the last couple years as well. So watching tape on a lot of different schools as well, whether it be Troy, whether it be UCF, whether it be North Texas, whether it be North Carolina. There's a lot of unknowns about their offense as well, and then special teams as well. These guys have had since January, like we have, to tweak and tinker with and adjust and things like that. So there's so many unknowns. Both teams got to do a great job adjusting early in the game to what we see and try and prepare our guys the best we can during the week so they can go out there on Saturday night and do that with poise and confidence. But excited to finally be playing. Like our group, we've had a good preseason. There's no question we've gotten better since the beginning of preseason practice, and eager to get out there on Saturday night and see where we are as a football team. So don't even have to ask. David, what you got?
Shane, you mentioned before that you might have a true freshman to play in every position on the field this year at some point. I don't know, maybe nervous is the right word, but how nerve-wracking can that be as a coach if you have to have a number of those guys out there?
It's I'd be sitting here and lying to you if I told you it wasn't concerning. Would I rather have returning starters and veterans at every position? Yes, where you can develop those young guys throughout the season where they get better throughout the season. And our guys they'll get better throughout the season, but we're going to have to rely on them on game one, so that we as coaches have to do a great job throughout the summer and preseason, which I feel like we have, of getting those guys ready to play. And then we've got to do a great job as a coaching staff of during the week being smart with what we're doing game plan wise, not asking these guys to do too much. But also, I'm excited for them too. I talk about the youth, but that's an exciting thing as well. We're a team that will get better as the year goes. We're a team that's got a talented group of freshmen. They wouldn't be out there if they weren't talented enough. We've got some older guys at their position. It just happens to be that the freshmen, at a lot of these positions are better right now and give us a better opportunity to win than maybe some of these older guys. So I'm excited to get them out there and excited to see them get out there and play. And they're a great group of young men too. They're doing well off the field. They're doing well on the field. And, they've earned this opportunity. And looking forward to watching them on Saturday night.
Shane, going back to the bad practice on a scale of 1 to 10, just how angry were you, or is disappointed a better word?
A little both. It was, we were in the pouring down rain, which is no excuse. That would be me seeking comfort by saying it was wet and all that. Just disappointed that it, would be game week and not have the physical mindset and intensity and urgency that we need to have. And again, it wasn't bad altogether. Particularly on offense, a play can look like crap, but you go back and look at the tape, and it's one guy here. If he just has better footwork or technique or whatever, it could be a big play. So you don't want to overreact, and I'm not. But there also needs to be a mindset and an intent to get better every time you take the field. And I don't know if we had that for the entire 2 hours and 15 minutes that we were out there this morning.
Hey, Shane, I know you guys say that you prep for every opponent the same, but Spencer was telling us earlier that this maybe feels a little bit different. Just week one against UNC in Charlotte, nationally televised game. Does it feel different for you too? Just week one, here we go.
Yeah, for sure. No, we try and treat every game the same, and we do. I mean, our preparation next week for Furman will be the exact same preparation as it is this week, and we always tell our team it's about us. I mean, we don't talk more about North Carolina than we do Furman next week or Georgia the week after that. I mean, every week we try and have the same routine, same mindset, and same preparation as far as the opponent, because it's always about us. But I'd be sitting here lying to you if I told you it was the same as Georgia State last year or Eastern Illinois the year before. Just the attention on the outside. I mean, I just did an interview with Jim Rome before I came in here at 1 o'clock, and I wasn't doing interviews with Jim Rome talking about the matchup week one last year. And but you love that. You love that. You want to play in big games and where you're on a national stage, and we certainly are. I mean, I'd rather do this than what we've done the last couple of seasons as well. But there's a different feel, a different electricity. But also, too, Mike, every year there's that, because it's game one, and there's just the excitement of getting to go out there for the first game. So that is always high, but it certainly is elevated a little bit more this year because of who you're playing and where.
Hey, Shane, DK's been the number one back really since the start of fall camp, and that has remained the case. He's never played running back before. Just what was it about the way he approached that position that made him the clear-cut starter?
Yeah, congratulations on your award, too. It's big time. I think just DK being DK and just his mindset and the way that he works. And I go back, like I've told you guys before, I mean, you go back and watch the Tennessee game last year where we used him as a Wildcat quarterback, and some of the runs that he made, he showed natural running ability. And then you move him to that position, and you're like, okay, well, now he's got to block linebackers in the passing game from a pass protection standpoint. Can he do that? And he checked that box off easily. And to me, just like everything that he's ever done, whether it be playing quarterback, receiver, special teams, kick returner, he just embraced it. And he showed a toughness, a physical mindset, a professional mindset, where he was just steady and everything you want, in a running back. And it's his first game playing running back, so hopefully he goes out there and has a fantastic night. But he's another one, being an older guy, though. He'll continue to get better as the year goes. But that's what I saw, just the way that he approached things and his maturity level with that.
Spencer's mentioned each of the last 2 weeks that he's a better fit in this offense this year. What about Spencer, and what about the offense makes it that way in your estimation?
That it's a better fit. I think for Spencer, is that your roundabout way of trying to say everything we're doing offensively and stuff like that as well? No, I'm just messing with you. I think with Spencer, it's just he's a year older. He's more confident. We've tried to make some changes to the offense to make it to allow him to play the way that he likes to play. And he just continues to get better. I think the biggest thing, though, is just the finish to last season, the confidence that he already had, but the confidence he brought into 2023 because of the way he finished in 2022, without a doubt. And then just I think the relationship with him and Dow goes a long way towards that, as also just the partnership that they have. And I sit in on those quarterback meetings and the way that they're able to work together, not just Dow and Spencer, but Coach Loggins and all the quarterbacks. And then offensively, kind of the same thing. Just, it's not like we've gone from, we talk about streamlining things and all that. It's not like we're going to go into a game Saturday night with 12 plays in the game plan. I mean, there's still a challenge to learn and whatnot, but certainly just trying to let our guys get out there and play fast and get our best players on the field and be multiple in what we're able to do or what we're doing, and then being able to run the ball and throw the ball both when we have to. So, hopefully feel like we are. Hopefully we'll be able to do that on Saturday night, and that's what we've tried to do since January.
Sticking with that, you talked about the unknowns for North Carolina's offense. I imagine they'd say the same thing about you, just considering how many things you entered fall camp with, trying to figure out, is this where you wanted that offensive group to be here with just a few days before game one?
Yeah, I kind of knew we would make progress in August. I didn't think we would be a finished product, and we're not. And there's still some question marks. There really is. That receiver rotation. I think I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I mean, I know the depth chart came out, but that's still a work in progress. Right now, there's no doubt that AB, Juice, and Leggett are our top three, and I'm still trying to figure out what 4, 5, 6, who that is, and not just who it is this Saturday night, but without a doubt who those guys are as the season goes, because we've got some young guys that are getting better. The offensive line rotation and how that continues to progress. The running back rotation after DK and Juju, what does that look like? So there's still things to be determined. I feel good about where we are right now. Certainly there's some things that maybe I was hoping we'd be a little bit farther at, just from a depth standpoint with some of the freshmen. But again, this is game one, and we pride ourselves on getting better week to week throughout the season, and we're going to have to at all those positions.
Shane, Coach Loggins said a few weeks ago that one of the 2 or 3 guys he most admired as a play caller when he was a younger guy was Steve Spurrier. Do you see any similarities in their approach to play calling?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, I think both of them have a great understanding of defenses. So take the specifics of play calling. Dow understanding defenses and how to attack it. Coach Spurrier that was one of the greatest things about him, was just knowing what coverage they were in and exactly how to attack it and what to do. So certainly, I think both of them have a good understanding of defense. Both of them, want to get the ball to their, best players, like any coordinator does. And Dow, he has I don't know if he's quite the Steve Spurrier swagger that Coach Spurrier has, but the soft spoke and all that. Dow's got a little bit of a swagger to him too, also, which I like, and we want to be aggressive in everything that we do, just like Coach Spurrier did when he was calling plays as well. So there's only one head ball coach, but certainly there's a lot of qualities that I think Dow has that hopefully will be on display. I know it will be on display this Saturday night and throughout the season.
From looking at May on film and all the talk about him being a Heisman candidate coming off the season he had, when you look at Rattler, from what you know about him, you look at May, how do you compare the two? And do you think maybe nationally Rattler is being a little bit overlooked with the talk about the top quarterbacks in the country?
Little is be correct here. Yeah, I do. It's Spencer's play on the field will speak for itself. Frankly, it's pretty disappointing just to see maybe the lack of respect on the outside. But again, we worry about what we can control, and I'm excited for Spencer. And again, Spencer's a guy, he doesn't need any of that to motivate him. But as his head coach and someone that thinks the world of the kid, it's surprising to see some of the preseason watch lists and things like that. But again, we just need to go play football games. That's all that matters. When you talk about Drake May and Spencer Rattler, I see two, really good quarterbacks. Obviously, they're different body types. I mean, Drake May is a athletic, big quarterback that he had, I believe it's like the second most scramble yards in the country last year of quarterbacks. So he's such a weapon with his feet too. He's a guy that, he's creative. He can make any throw on the field. Just watching some of his, his tape yesterday in my office, just whatever it may be, fitting balls into tight windows. I mean, it's really impressive, some of the throws he can make, particularly down the field. But then when things break down, his ability to improvise and scramble, but then also to run the ball as well, and evidenced by how many yards he rushed for. And he protects the football. This is a team that didn't turn the ball over a lot last year. Yeah, so they do a good job of protecting the football. And he's a guy, just watching him on tape, that he doesn't get too high, too low, very steady. And I think that's a great quality for a quarterback. And Spencer has that same quality as well. So to me, it's two really, really, really good quarterbacks. that are both going to have really, really, hopefully long and prosperous NFL careers. And I know Coach Brown is happy that Drake May is his quarterback, and I'm ecstatic that Spencer Rattler is ours.
With Dow getting ready to call plays for the first time in a college game, what does sort of the learning curve look like in terms of getting prepared to do that, and how do you simulate that in a practice environment for him?
Yeah, it's hard. It's a great question, Emily. It's hard because we don't get a preseason game to go through it, and not just with him. Like, he can call plays. He's called plays, before, but it's just the mechanics of the offensive staff, and you've got the graduate assistants, you've got analysts, you've got student assistants, you got backup quarterbacks that are hearing things as well. So there's just a lot of moving parts on game day that you try and simulate as much as you can in a practice, but until you do it for real, and there's crowd noise and all that as well, it's tough, So we've tried to do as much as we can to prepare it. So whether it be in practice, like a lot of things that we do in practice, we'll say, okay, you got, 12 plays, and we script them, meaning like the 12 plays before we get out there. But then we've done a lot of work in practice where I tell them, hey, we're just going to put the ball down and just play it like a game. So that makes him call plays and practice that way, but it also forces our assistant coaches to be able to get personnel groupings in and out of the game, and being able to communicate the play call to the quarterback and all that as well. So trying to do as many things in practice to make it game like, but you're right. I mean, it'll be the first time he's ever been on the headphones with me and everyone in an environment like that. But thankfully, it's not his first time calling plays. He's called plays at the highest level in the NFL and big games before also. But it will be new in a lot of ways. But hopefully, we've done a good job of, doing that. And last scrimmage, he went upstairs like he would be in a game, and that was good for all the other coaches to hear, him, what he's going to be like on game day as well.
Coach, you mentioned the lack of intensity at practice today. What are some of the psychological tactics or motivational things that you personally try to put in place to change that, ramp it up for Saturday?
Nothing. I would hope they just know if they need me. Clearly, I didn't do a good enough job today. I thought we had a really good team meeting. And again, this doesn't need to be the story that Shane says they just had a terrible practice and they're going to get killed Saturday night. That's not what I said. I just said that the intensity in practice throughout wasn't what it needed to be at certain positions. But I'm not going to come into the team meeting tomorrow and all of a sudden start throwing chairs or show them some cool motivational video and think that, okay, everything's cool now. You would hope that the leadership within the team would understand exactly what I'm talking about, and we would come out there tomorrow morning and have a really good Wednesday practice, which I would expect us to, without a doubt. And again, we need to be a self-motivated team. If they need me to come in every Tuesday in the team meeting and get them riled up and ready to go, or they need me to give some Newt Rockney speech 5 minutes before kickoff in Charlotte, it's too late at that point. If you're not ready to play Saturday night, nothing I say before the game is going to change it.
Shane, what's your defense going to have to do to slow down Drake and that offense? And did you have any kind of recruiting contact with Drake, either at Oklahoma or after you got here?
First of all, for us, it always starts with stopping the run. So if they can go out Saturday night, North Carolina's offense, and run the football, it's going to be a long night for us if they're able to run the ball effectively, and you've got Drake May at quarterback. So every game, whether we're playing North Carolina, Furman, whoever it is, for us it starts with stopping the run. But there's no question we've got to be able to just corral him. And I know it's cliche, but everybody just doing their job. And we've got to do a great job of tackling in space. That's another thing that shows up in game ones in college football, the tackling, because you're limited in how much you can do it in practice. So we've got to tackle well in space and stop the run. And then, when he does throw, certainly we've got to be able to get pressure on him, and our defensive backs got to do a great job against their talented receivers. And then as far as the recruiting, not much. I'm trying to even think where I was. I guess I would have been at Oklahoma when he came out of high school. So I remember going and watching him practice in high school, I was recruiting kind of the South Carolina, North Carolina one day for Oklahoma's during the spring, and went to a practice and watched him practice, but not much from a recruiting standpoint.
Just on a slightly different note, Buddy Pugh announced that this will be his last season coaching SC State. He's such a prominent figure in the state of South Carolina. What do you think Buddy Pugh's legacy in this game will be?
Yep. And let me go back to that one, too. I think I lied to you. I think it was December. And it got me thinking. I'm like, I know I went to his high school. I'm like 99% sure I literally went there. I was in New York City for my dad and Mac Brown to go into the Hall of Fame. And this would have been December. So I think Myers Park would have been maybe still in the playoffs at this point. This would have been 2000, whatever year that was. And I went, and if it was December, I went in there and watched him practice. They were maybe getting ready for a playoff game or something like that. So pretty wild that I'm with Mac Brown the night before, and then here we are, watching Drake May at practice, and then we're playing against him however many years. Sorry. Buddy Pugh, I called Coach Pugh on Friday night after we got off the practice field just to call him, and I told him, I said, Coach, I've got so much respect for you, for what you've done for the state of South Carolina, you as a coach. Hope to have half the career that you've had. He's just a guy that truly loves the game of football, truly loves the young men that he coaches, and happy for him, but hate to see him leave the profession as well. But somebody that I got a lot of respect for, and glad I was able to tell him that on Friday night when I talked to him.
A couple for you. First one's sort of multi-part about the new clock rules. Were you able to get a better feel or sense of how that's going to go for y'all after watching some games on Saturday, and how have y'all tried to, prepare?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a huge difference for the players from what the players notice, if that makes sense. I mean, I tried to watch the game some this Saturday and kind of get a feel for it. Some of our practices when we did the 2-minute drill, 2-minute offense in practice, I purposely made the situation, there's 2:30 on the clock, so we get a first down, the clock doesn't stop outside of 2 minutes. So just trying to help myself from that standpoint. I think the biggest thing is just going to be not so much the mechanics when it's happening, but throughout the game potentially having fewer plays, and that's going to happen. I think the average on college football after one weekend was down a little bit, the total number of plays. So confident that we'll be okay with it. It certainly changes things at the end of the game, whatever the end of the half in game, whatever the situation is, up, behind. You got to be a little bit different, but I don't think it'll be super impactful from that standpoint.
Then from recruiting standpoint, I guess recruits can come in and watch y'all on Saturday night, but y'all can't have any contact, I guess.
Correct.
What do you look for as far as being able to I guess showcase your team in a setting like that?
I think in a setting like that, I'll throw it back to our fans, and I failed to mention this earlier, but I would hope that I know we will have an amazing presence at College Game Day on Saturday morning as well. So when high school prospects turn on the television and turn on College Game Day, they see garnet and black and a huge Gamecock, contingent. I know myself and Coach Brown are supposed to go on set at some point Saturday morning up in Charlotte. So that's where it starts. And then for the recruits that are there in person or watching on television, to me, just the environment that is created in that stadium. I know there'll be a lot of Tar Heel blue in there, and I know there's also going to be a lot of garnet and black in there as well. So to me, it's a great environment that if you're a high school prospect in person or watching on television, you say, you know what, that's the kind of environment that I want to play in, and play in games like this as well. And then hopefully we play well. But I don't think if we're recruiting a young man and we don't play particularly well and the night doesn't go the way that we want it, that he's going to eliminate us because of how he performed in game one. To me, it's more just the effort we play with, the joy we play with as a team. They look at that and say, I want to be a part of what they got going on down there on that sideline and on the field. But then also being able to look around and see garnet and black everywhere in Bank of America Stadium, to me, that's the best thing that we could do from a recruiting standpoint. So confident that our South Carolina fans will do that.
Shane, I'll ask the depth chart question, but there were 2 oars at the tackle spots. What have you seen in those 2 battles? What have you liked? What concerned you? And is that a situation where multiple guys might play Saturday night?
Yeah, I just read that was South Florida, I think, had was it 53? 30-some oars. That's awesome. Man, I try to be good to you guys and limit the ors. If you saw an or, then yes, it's because the competition, the battle is still going on, which it is at every position, but especially at those positions. And then if you saw the or at, what was it, defensive end, I think we threw ors in for like 6 different guys. That's real. Competition's still ongoing, and I would expect to see all of those guys on Saturday night as well. So again, I know that I think Coach Saban, he said what he said yesterday about depth charts and all that as well, and I get it. I mean, the depth chart is listed a certain way, but we may start the game defensively in a unique personnel grouping, or we may start the game offensively in a unique personnel grouping that puts somebody that's listed as a backup in the game as a starter. I don't know. But, those guys that are listed on that depth chart, you're going to see them Saturday night, and then you're also going to see a lot of guys that aren't on the depth chart as well. So that's we'll see where we are on Saturday.
Just going back to true freshman for a minute here. Last year you had Nick come in game 1. You had some other players. Is it possible to just kind of simulate that preparation for true freshmen, or is it case by case different with trying to get those guys ready for a first game?
I think it's case by case. The good thing is we have a awesome fan base that creates an amazing environment for our spring game. So, and I know sometimes I brag about our fan base, but it's true. Like, I'll watch other spring games and there's 100 people in the stands. That's not a environment getting guys ready to play what it's like on Saturday. So realistically, I don't know, but I would bet that the biggest crowd that Nick Gargiulo ever played in was our spring game. I know for a fact it's the biggest crowd that Marquis Anderson or Dez or Mario or some of these other guys that came from smaller schools or high schools, they played in front of a big environment at our spring game. So thank you, Gamecock Nation, for that, because, we had Sean Ryan, who's an offensive analyst for us. He's been in the NFL for a long time, and he said it yesterday. He's like, man, that was the loudest crowd that I've coached in a long time. He was in the NFL, and he was here for the spring game, and there's no question. You watch a college game and you watch an NFL game, the noise is different. And so to answer your question, yeah, I think we were able to prepare a lot of guys for that, the freshmen that were here, the transfers that were here in the springtime, because they got to experience a crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium, which not every school gets to do, not every school has that blessing that we do with a great fan base. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that I knew that Nick Imamori was going to go out there in game 1 on the first series or whatever last year and play like he did. I think some guys are just gamers that rise to the level that maybe, they're good practice players, but man, when the lights come on and it's for real, they take it to a whole new level. And I got an idea about who some of those guys are on the team, and hopefully we got a lot of them.
Hey, Shane, you mentioned how Spencer is not the kind of guy who needs to be left off preseason watch list for motivation, but there are a lot of guys who speak really highly of him in this building. Does that add a little extra motivation or chip on their shoulder as they get ready for week 1?
The other guys,
like
for
teammates,
Spencer, you mean?
on his behalf, I'd say.
I don't know. I mean, I think hopefully we have that with every player on the team, that we all want to fight for one another and lift each other up. And we talk about being the closest, wanting to be the closest team, most connected team in the country. And to me, that all goes hand in hand, But as a head coach, I want to do that for all of the players. I hope Spencer wants to do that for the receivers and tight ends and running backs and offensive linemen and vice versa. So I'm sure it's that to a certain degree, but it's also wanting everybody to do it for one another.
Shane, what's this week like for you? I mean, this is your third go-around. You're getting ready for North Carolina. I mean, this isn't a cupcake team. No disrespect to some of the teams you've played in the past. But what can the past couple of years for you as you head into this season help you as you get ready for this one?
I think every year is different. Game 1s are always just, like I alluded to and mentioned, it's game 1s are different just because there's so many unknowns, and you're nervous before every game. But game 1 is a different kind of nervousness because it's just your first time doing it for real. And you try and simulate it as much as you can, but you can't, the reality of it. So that's one thing, just the emotions of that. And yes, it is year 3, but there's so many new players, that haven't been through. We tried to do it last week, but whatever it is, 30 plus 38 players, I think, is new on the team. So it's a bunch of guys that'll be in Charlotte that haven't gotten on a bus and gone up to Charlotte gotten on the bus to go to a game and haven't been Friday night in the hotel. Now, we tried to simulate it last Friday here in our building. Okay, we eat dinner at this time. Now, after dinner is over, we do this at 7:10. And then when this meeting's over with Demo at 7:10, we do this at 7:50 with Pete. And then we do this at 8:05. Okay, now I know it's 2:30 in the afternoon, but Friday night at 8:30, this is where we're going to be in a team meeting. So you try and simulate that as much as you can, but it's their first time doing it. But for me, Mike, it's just I just think about what we got to do to get ready to play our very best on Saturday. But then also there's I'm not patting myself on the back, but there's a sense of excitement too because of what we've accomplished the last 2 years, that College Game Day is coming to this game. And Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy and Molly McGrath are doing the game, and it's on ABC prime time. That means you're doing really good things as a program and you've made progress. And we still have a lot of work to do, but to me it's a credit to the people in this program that in 2 years we've gotten this program to the point that this is the primetime game on ABC to start the season for the whole country to watch. And it's exciting too because it's just the beginning of where we're going. We're going to continue to play in big games like this and games of magnitude. And that's what I think about is just the excitement of it, but also we got a lot of work to do between now and Saturday for us to be able to go out there and perform well also. Thank you. No questions, Bob? You spectator? Learning from each other. Yeah, we'll probably take the OT off and make like a LT, RT, something like that as well. We may add some mores, though. I don't know. But y'all want the specifics, so if we have a bunch of guys that play every position, multiple snaps, we'll add oars next week if we need to. But, yes, it'll be updated. But Steve will tell you that's usually about a 15-second meeting on Sunday nights about the depth chart. Y'all have a great week.